Hello.
What you doing?
Get ready to do a live. What's up, sports fans? It's your man D back. Speak Your Mind Sports Talk. Alright, check it out, guys. Y'all know what time it is. The power of the mind tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about focus. Focus is everything. See, here's how I put out. And remember, guys, it's all techniques for us to keep ourselves in a positive state of mind, keep ourselves feeling good. You know, it's hard to it's hard to accomplish anything when you're feeling bad. It's hard to accomplish anything in a negative state. Um, when you're in negative state of emotions, it's really difficult to accomplish things. So, what I want to talk about tonight is focus. You know, um, and I'm gonna let me do this early, just in case someone would like to come up here and share or talk, or of course, you guys can do it from the chat as well, any way you like. But I'm going to put this link up here just in case. All right, there's the link. All right, so that's the link for anybody who'd like to come in and join the discussion live, um, on air with me. Or again, you guys can just do it in the chat. But so tonight, the power of the mind. We're going to talk about focus, because focus, as I put in the title, is everything. Boy, I don't know why always y'all getting on this thing. So let me see here. Let me get to the chat. Switch over to the chat. Rose, how you doing, Miss Rose? Good evening to you, Queen. You said it's 6:15 here, sunny Southern California. Yeah. Peace to the future chat room, boy. Well, I am in let's see, northern no central Ohio, and it actually feels pretty good though. It's like 80 something degrees, which is a shock for Ohio this time of the year. Usually it's colder, but that's why I decided to come outside tonight. So I want to talk about focus because you know a lot of times and as I said in the title, focus is everything. But a lot of times when we have goals or we're trying to achieve things, we tend to lose focus. And then if we lose focus and we don't accomplish the things we want to accomplish, then it can spiral us into like a negative state of mind because we didn't get done what we wanted to get done. So we're going to talk about some techniques to focus on the positives. The last power of the mind we talked about the law of relativity, and just to relate your situations to others, and you know it can help you become more grateful and appreciative of the things that you have. But tonight I want to talk about focus, because one thing that I find about a lot of people, and shout out to doesn't really matter, who joined us the on the other live. And and I'm not to say anything against doesn't really matter or anything like that, but as we were speaking and sharing, and doesn't really matter kept putting up certain things in the chat that were somewhat negative, you know and so it appeared that that's what he was giving his focus to. So we have to remember the things we give our focus to, that's going to somewhat guide the way we feel. We have to be able to change our focus, because no matter what happens in life, what situation you're in, or anything like that, you don't have to focus on those things. You know, we all have obstacles in life. We all have our ups and downs. Uh, but we all have good things in life. One beautiful thing that I have in life, and a lot of us also have, we have children. And for those of you who are older, we have grandchildren. I don't have any grandchildren personally yet because my daughters are in school, which doesn't really have anything to do with it, but they just decided not to have any children. And one is 23 and the other one's 21, but they don't have any children yet. So, I don't have any grandchildren, but I do have children. I have a 9-year-old daughter, 19-year-old son, and my two oldest girls in school. And when I think about my children, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of joy. I'm very proud of them. you know, we can only lead them and guide them in the right direction. But when they get to that age, 22, 23, and so forth, they're going to have to make their own choices. They're going to have to do their own things. Um, and my daughters decided to do the right thing, and I'm proud of them. And if I ever get down and out, I think about my children. I focus on my children and how great they're doing, and you know, somewhat pride in myself, the steps that I took to guide them and lead them in the right way, and then I'll focus on that. Does it really matter? Though things are negative, doesn't mean they are not real. That is a fact. That is definitely a fact. And as I was saying right before you came in, my man, or you might have been in, but before I actually seen you pop up there. But as I was saying, we all have obstacles and things going on in life, right? And so it's up to us on what we focus on. We don't have to focus on those negatives. You know what I mean? We can always focus on the positives in life. That kind of gets you out of the mind state of paying attention to the negative things. And I agree with you. Just because things are negative doesn't mean that they are not real. You know, it's negative, or what could be perceived as negative things going on all around us. Um, just the other day, my I think it was probably Monday or Tuesday, but the school, my kid's school sent a message to all of the parents or whatever. Probably about a half a mile away from the school, there was actually a murder that took place. And so the police were all around searching for the perpetrator. And what happened is everything was late. They locked the schools down, locked all the doors and such. And so they sent us messages out telling us that for the children's safety, and while the police were out hunting and searching for this guy, excuse me, guys, that things would be delayed, the bus routes and everything else. So in that situation, a lot of times some of the parents, a lot of the other parents could have gotten nervous. They could have gotten scared, like, oh my goodness, a murderer's out on the loose. I'm so worried about my child. But what I turned my focus to is that the schools they called in police presence. They locked the schools down. And so I focused on the fact that my child was safe. It's not like the police are going to be out looking for a killer and then they're going to run into the schools where the police are. No, they're going to stay as far away from the police as they can. So, got a couple of calls like, did you hear what happened? This, that, and the third, man. Your child's still in school, this, that, and the third. I was like, yeah, everything's fine. And then so they was like, what do you mean everything's fine? A killer, somebody just killed somebody and they're on the loose. But you got to look at what happened. They locked the schools down. They got police presence there, so our kids were safe. So my point of focus was that my daughter was safe. And so in that moment, you had a lot of people, and as you say, does it really matter? It was a negative situation, and it's there, but you had a lot of people who focused on the fact that there was a killer loose, instead of focusing on the fact that their child was safe. Now, who would you think uh, would be in a better state of mind, a better emotional state? Would it be the person that's worried that there's a killer on the loose and, oh my gosh, I hope they don't get to my child's school and this is a crazy city? Or the other person that said, well, great, my child's safe. I'm glad the school did what they were supposed to do. I'm grateful and appreciative that the police presence are there. You understand what I'm saying? So in this same incident, you had people worrying about the killer and their children being safe and this, that, and the third. But then on this side, you had me and probably other people that were comfortable, appreciative, and grateful that the school took the right steps to lock down the school, and we focused on our children being safe. So it's all about focus. You know, one thing I always say that you control your emotional state. No one made those guys focus on the killer or the dangers, and no one made me focus on the safety, the appreciation to the school, and the police presence. We decide to focus on the things we want to focus on. You know what I mean? And so, does it really matter? Says most of us are bombarded with one hell after another, bro, and do not know how to focus as you speak. Well, um, you know, uh, it takes practice. I will say that doesn't really matter, and I will agree that most of us do not understand how to focus the way that I speak about, because honestly, I'm 11 years in this, and it really took a lot. You know, 11 years ago, anything that would happen that was of a negative nature, I would let that sometimes take me out of my space, and you know, I would probably be angry or upset or sad or disappointed by it, and it would last for hours. But again, this is why I do this power of the mind, and I give so many different techniques, so many different aspects to change that way of thinking. You know, when we understand open perspective, that helps. You know, see, perspective and perception will help you change your focus. If you perceive everything as being bad, if you perceive everything as being negative, then anything that pops up negative, that's probably what you're going to give more focus to. You kind of get what I'm saying there. But my perception of a lot of things is that it just is. And again, it was a journey to arrive at this point, but we have to understand that things, they just are. Okay, there's not, you know it's your mind. you know I know that there are people out there with guns that decide to shoot and kill and maim, but look at your lifestyle and look at the things that you do. Now, again, I always say this, that I had a rough start in life. I grew up in poverty. We were really, really poor, and you know, month after month, this might get shut off, or we don't have as much food as we would like. And coming up, I would hear my mom say, "It's one thing after another. It's one thing after another. I swear, I can't get ahead." And then you start to build that train of thought in your own mind. You know what I mean? And instead of focusing on the things that's one thing after another, just like you said, bro, we all bombarded with hell. But if you sit back for a while and focus on everything going on around you, we're also bombarded with good. But the propaganda, the media, and everything around us, we've been kind of trained to focus on what's wrong first instead of focusing on what's right, what's good, what's there to appreciate and have gratitude for. And so it's up to us to change that focus. Remember, when we talked about the subconscious mind works off of repetition, things that you do habitually, you know, just like walking. So you have to change your way of thinking and habitually focus on positives, what's good. And then so we shift from what we've been taught from our ancestors and parents in the media. Instead of looking at a situation or looking at someone and pointing out and focusing on what's wrong, we become we habitually become to the point where we look and focus on things that are right, that are good. That's one thing that helped me when I was able to analyze every situation. The first thing I look at in every situation is what's good about it. What can I appreciate about this situation? You know, I had a long time ago. I don't know if you guys can see this, but right there, I was shot right there. Okay, I was shot in the arm, and I was running the streets then and everything. And back then, I look at it and I focused on, man, why did I get shot? Because when I got shot in my arm, I was in a bad neighborhood doing bad things, but a shootout broke out, and it wasn't even for me. Um, but uh, it was for some of the guys that I was running with. So I grabbed my gun and I start shooting back, boom, 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 boom. And then, in the process, I got hit. A couple of other guys got hit, and so back then, after everything was said and done, our focus was on why did they come and ride on us like that? We out here minding our business, and all of a sudden they just come and ride on us like that. Well, nowadays I would think, man, it's a blessing that all of those bullets flew and we're all here. Because now I've trained my mind to take out of this situation what was good out of this situation. Well, what was good out of that situation is like three of us got shot, but no one died. So instead of focusing on why these guys come and do this and, you know, why it's always got to be violence in the hood, the focus should have been that we're all alive. God had a purpose for us being here because any one of those bullets, you know, uh, inches, man. You're talking about inches. If I get popped in the arm, if you move over, say 3 inches and down, I could have got popped in the rib and it going through my lungs. And you understand what I'm saying? So let's pull out the things. Let's focus on the things in any situation. First and foremost, let's try to analyze what could be right in that situation and change what we've been taught, because we've been taught to analyze first what's wrong in a situation, what's negative. uh and it takes practice. Again, you can't do this overnight, and I don't expect anybody to do this overnight. I'm on a 12-year stretch of doing this. You know what I'm saying? It takes practice, it takes repetition. It's like the affirmations we talked about here. um And with affirmations, you don't just say it. A lot of people think, oh, you just say the same thing over and over and over again. No, you have to say it, but you have to believe it so. And even in the beginning, if you don't believe it so, you have to eventually, keep saying it, but believe that that's how it's going to be. Affirmations help change your focus because if you're repeating or doing the same things in a positive state all the time, then what was that? What was that was negative? You tend to forget about that, and then you build this habit of whatever that affirmation is. You build a habit of thinking that way. So take it one step at a time, because that's what I did over the years. I took every section, one step at a time. You're not going to change overnight. None of us are going to change overnight. Especially if we're in our 30s, 40s, and we're just picking up this information. Well, for 30 years, you've been thinking that way. For 40 years, you've been thinking that way. You can't just flip a switch and change all of that at once. It takes time, it takes practice. So, you know, it becomes worse when you're naive and in denial of what is really going on. Yeah, it does. And you cannot be, and I would agree with that. You can't be you can't be in denial of what's going on. You can't, when I say that you need to change your focus, I don't mean that you need to act like these things are not happening. Because here's the thing with this, does it really matter? If you don't know what bothers you, if you don't know what is perceived as bad or what you don't like, or you ignore the things that bother you, or you ignore the things that you don't like or what's negative, then how can you understand what it takes to make you feel good? How can you understand what it takes to make you feel positive or to think positively? You have to know it's a balance. Everything is a balance. So where you have what's perceived as good, you have to have what's perceived as bad. Uh where you have these things that you look at as things that you don't want, you have to understand what you do want. So there's a balance. You can't be in denial about it. You can't, like you said, be naive about it and act like it doesn't exist, because yeah, it does exist. A lot of these things exist, but between your focus and your perspective, that's how that's how you control how you think about these things. You understand what I mean? All right, over 90% of us suffer from mental illness, mostly caused by yes, intentional by our own oppressors. That is correct. And you know why? Because they're focusing on that. See, in this country, we have the same oppressors. I'm a African American slash Hispanic man. And, you know, in this country, there are a lot of people that are partial toward the black man, and, or, indifferent toward the black man. But, I talked about this on another live when I came home from the penitentiary. I I basically I got a job with a white guy named Jim Griffin, but he's family to me because we built a relationship. His son and I were friends, and we built a relationship up. But when I was in prison, um, there was a separation. If you ever go there, there's a separation of race, culture, and it's kind of tough to get away from it in there because you gotta have somebody to identify with. It's really tough to be a loner in there. And so when you come out, you expect certain things to be a certain way, but it's totally different. It's not like that. Some of the Aryans, it didn't matter if they, I knew Aryans in prison. They got with their group. They were Aryans, and they actually had half black children. Think about that. They had children by an African American woman. So it's not like when they were out there they were adverse to African Americans. They actually have children that are African American, but inside they identified with the Aryans. So the black man was the enemy. Now, do we really think that you know they really felt that way? No, they got in there and they had to identify with a group because that's what survival is about inside of there. You know what I mean? And so again, guys, it's what you focus on. Do you think that any of those guys that, like I said, had African American family of any rate, whether it was children, brother, sister, uncle, cousin, it doesn't matter. When they was outside, do you think that their focus was on not dealing with, trusting, or socializing with an African American? No, it didn't go down that way. They had to change focus when they got in to that situation and they came into that penitentiary because, I'll be honest about it. Had they not changed focus, they may not have made it through that. Something could have happened. Something could have happened that they didn't want to happen. You understand what I'm saying? So I get you. I get you. You know, we do have to pay attention, and we have to realize all of the things going on around us. We have to understand that it's there. We have to understand it. Like, does it really matter? Says that these negative situations are going on, but what we don't have to do is focus on it. That is our choice. I always say, how you'll hear people say, "Oh, they piss me off," or "They tick me off," or they really upset me. They really disappointed me. They really hurt me. Well, do you know that none of that is true? Because remember, it's all about perspective and perception. Now, whatever they did, you took that data in. Whatever this person said, whatever this person did, if you feel like they stabbed you in the back, well, you took the data in that situation into your mind, and you decided to be disappointed, sad, angry, depressed. You decided that because it's your brain. So is it really possible that someone made you mad? Because you hear that all the time. "Oh, they made me mad, or they make me sick." You know what I mean? Is that possible? Because it's your brain. So whatever act they committed, whatever they said out their mouth, whatever they told someone else, you took that data in and you said to yourself, "You know what? I'm going to be angry about this." No one made you angry. You understand where I'm coming from? Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Says the only way they can identify with your message is if you go where they are with plans and info. Yeah, yes, yes and no, yes and no. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because it's all about self-preservation. Sometimes people want change. Doesn't really matter, but they don't know how to go about it. And then here's something else. I used to be an instructor, um, more than once actually. When I got out and ran the firm um, that I used to run, I used to basically teach the employees, the new employees coming on. I used to instruct them. But when I was locked up, I was actually a GED. I taught GED classes, GED math and GED science. Um, and it was a program ran inside for the inmates so that they could get their GEDs and accomplish things when they get out. And some of them needed remedial help. So I was an instructor. And uh, one thing I learned, because I had to study on some things on how to teach these guys and everything. One thing I learned about that is that you have three different styles of learning. Doesn't really matter. Okay. You have what's called auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Okay. And so auditory is pretty much self explanatory. These people listen and they learn better by listening, you know, by hearing the message, and they learn better that way. Visual, self explanatory again. They see it. They see it, they watch you do it, you know what I mean? And they learn better that way. And then there's kinesthetic. And kinesthetic is hands on. They have to do it. You see what I mean? And that's the way that they learn. So when you take your comment here, the only way they can identify with your message is if you go where they are with plans and your info. That's not all the way true, because uh, what if they're an auditory style learner? And this, So that has to be identified, because if they're auditory style learner and you go there hands on, they might not take it in as well as the next person. So that's not actually the only way that they can learn. Some people are auditory style learners. Some people are a combination of two. They can listen to what you say, and then they got to put their hands in and get their hands dirty, and that's a combination of kinesthetic and auditory. Or you could be a combination of visual and auditory. They see you do it, they watch you do it, and they're like, okay, I got it, but they got to get their hands on it and do it themselves. Or auditory and visual. So if you have people that are auditory, visual, or a combination of that, actually these videos would help them more. They would be able to take this in much more than me actually going out to them. So, because everyone's different. The data is powerful. It's a powerful program that works because most people are powerless against it. Well, break that down. What do you mean by that? You said the data is a powerful program that works because most people are powerless against it. Kind of break that down, what you mean by that. But, that's why I always do these videos, because you never know who's listening, who will listen to the playback. And you never know how profound some of the things we say on these chats, or some of the things we hear. You never know how profound that could be to someone. Sometimes somebody could be in the dumps and they like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, and then they just cut on YouTube. Let me go see what D talking about. And whatever situation they going through, and you know how we get up here and we share with each other, such as you doing right here, and then I speak on it, or one of you guys come join me, and one of you guys are talking and you're speaking, and it just hits that person. It hits them in the heart, like, yeah, that's it, man, that's it. And you can help someone that way. You could change their whole perspective on the way they were thinking about a certain situation, and then they go from feeling miserable to understanding that that's not so bad. Everything is actually okay. Okay, D, I get it. Yeah, I'm going to focus on that. And we never know. We never know. You always put out what helps you. Any situation. That's why I love when you guys type in the chat and give ideas and listen. Sort of like you, doesn't really matter. Remember the first time you came on, and I buy houses, and a couple other people was like, well, look, man, everything you got to listen to what D say. Everything that you put in there is negative. You keep, but I think that everything that you put in that chat was not negative. Everything that you put in that chat, in my perspective and my perception, was positive. Because just like I said earlier, if you don't know what offends you, if you don't know what's bad, if you don't know what causes you to get in an emotional state, then you can end up, continuing to get there and not even understand how. You get what I'm saying? So it's important that we share with each other. It's important that we speak about things that may be bothering us, because you never know who has the words or motivation to get you out of that train of thought. Hold on one second, guys. Goddamn raccoons. Sorry. Messing around in the doggone trash. We got raccoons around here. They tear up the trash. It's not mine, it's the people's next door. They leave their trash top open. That's why they should always leave it closed. The raccoons get up in there and start throwing food. They're really smart too, those raccoons. I tell you what. So anyhow, you never know. You never know. That's why I always share. And we talked about this last time. Doesn't really matter. I'm a hands-on person too. Like I don't. I grew up in the hood, so I'm not afraid of it. A lot of people are afraid of the projects, or afraid of the hood or the ghetto or whatever you want to call it. They're afraid. They believe all the myths and you'll get shot. Don't go down there. You'll get shot if you go in the hood. Well, again, I grew up in the hood, and when I got shot, actually, uh, I was in the hood. Well, I was shot twice, once in my ankle and once in my arm. But um, when I got shot, I was actually in the hood. But when I got shot in my ankle, I wasn't. I was at a park at a basketball court, and it was an outside court, but it was one of those courts outside where it's fenced in. It had the real high fence, and then it was just two ways to get out. You understand what I'm saying? And so the guys rolled up on one side, and they started shooting onto the court. They were shooting at someone. So everybody tried to make it out the other side, out of the one little kind of like doorway was the only way to get out of there, right? And so, and that wasn't even in the hood. That wasn't even in the project. It was at a public area and in a pretty decent area. You know what I mean? So, let me see what you say here. Okay, does it really matter? Said data is designed to program people negatively, but if you show up with multiple plans and solutions, it overrule it, but you have to show up. Well, it depends on what data. Because you say data is designed to program people negatively. Well, what I do on this power of the mind is data, no? Data is really just knowledge, things that you learn, things that you take in. So, what I do with this power of the mind is data as well. But what I do is design so that you feel positive. It's designed so that you feel good. It's designed so that you escape from the negativities of the world. And remember, you know, you got to understand something. Now, you doesn't really matter. Have to understand something here. There's really no good or bad or evil or good or anything like that. It's all about perception, bro. Everything is all about perception, how you perceive things. I'll give you an example. So, here in America, and this is a society thing, it's a tribal way of thinking, so to speak. So, there, and when I say this, I want you to understand that I have no horse in this race. I don't agree or disagree with. I'm just giving you an example. So here in America, if a grown man was to, you know, have a child with a young lady that's say anywhere from 12 to 17 years old, then in America, that's considered pedophilia or child molestation or statutory rape. You understand? Three things that are taken of a negative connotation, right? But in other countries of the world, this is regular. These people are actually marrying their children off at, or their daughters off at 12 and 13 years old to actually go reproduce and have a life and have a husband. And the thing is that it's natural. They don't think of it as pedophilia or statutory rape, or because that's not the way they grew up. That's not the way that they were trained. That's not the data that they received growing up. So when these things come about, it's not looked at as being negative. It's not looked at as bad. It's looked at as just absolutely normal. But in America, you can go to prison. You can go to jail for that. And then when you get out, you have to register and as a sex offender. So what about the guys that's 21, or let me make it a little closer. What about the guys that's 19 and say they were in high school, they started school a year late, so they graduated at the age of 19, 18, or maybe 19, right? But while they were a senior in school, they had another senior that was their girlfriend, and she started school maybe a little earlier, and she was 17. Okay, well, legally the parents can, proposition the courts and put them up for statutory rape or whatever. Now you think about this. These two kids were in high school together. They were seniors together. But the law says that she's a juvenile. Now, if for some reason uh, this guy gets convicted, then he has to come back out, sign a card, and he has to be labeled a sex offender. Now you think about that. Think about that. But in another country, it's just a normal thing. And see, this is why we have to do this complete paradigm shift, because when you look at things at a cultural level, it's called, what it's called is a tribal way of thinking. And tribe is no more than, a group of people or a group of like minds that decide to have the same ideals, same morals, same ethics, and so forth. So it's a tribal way of thinking that is practiced and taught and programmed into the minds. And so here, the exact same thing is taboo, where in another country, it's absolutely normal. You don't go to jail. You're not labeled a pedophile or a rapist, because when you sign that sex offender card, statutory rape or just regular rape, you're a rapist. Now, is that fair? Is that correct? I mean, both of these kids were boyfriend and girlfriend in high school. I actually know a case of where this happened, and it was because the mother and the daughter, they were, alone with no father. Okay. And the guy, he got caught cheating, but they had been together since the ninth grade. They had been boys, they had been a couple since the ninth grade, but he was 2 years older than her. And as relationships don't generally last forever in high school. But so as they got older, 10th grade, 11th grade, they were so in love, teenage love, you know how it goes. And then he cheated on her. He ticked her off, and then so goes the story. So vindictively, because he hurt this lady's daughter's feelings, she took charges out on him. Mind you, they had been in a relationship since childhood. Both of them was children, and he turned over the legal age before she did. 2 years, it was really like a year and 7 months apart, but at the time she was 17 and he was 19. Is that fair? Is that correct? Is that right? But it is. It is what it is. So over 90% of data in America is pumped out of lies and total negative. Are you in denial? No, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. That's why I always talk about the propaganda of the media. Like what's going on with the makeup and the fake boobies and the fake booties and all of that stuff. The Hollywood quote unquote, or that look. You know, well, and again, remember, negative is perspective. That's just how I look at it. But when you look at these things, I'm not in denial about that, because this is the media telling these young ladies that you need this to be considered beautiful. You see? Or remember when George Bush was in office, George Bush Senior. I mean, George W. Bush, the younger one, the son. And you know, every time you turn on the news, terrorism, 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 terrorism. You understand what I'm saying? And why were they doing that? So that they could spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the military and say that, well, you need this for protection. So that thought was driven into people's head. You see, but it was a lie. You know what I mean? So those type of things, no, I'm not in denial about these things, brother. I'm not in denial about it. What I decide to do is not give focus to it. You know that I don't even turn on the news. My wife and I don't watch the news. Sometimes, like my wife, she did like sports at first, but getting with me, she had no choice. Now she had a choice, but she eventually, she started getting in. She started getting into sports. Uh, she watches basketball now, football, boxing, MMA, yeah, tennis. She loves it, right? And you know, she used to look at sports as a waste of time, negative, because all of the women that she grew up with looked at it as a man thing, just a stupid. You understand what I mean? But once she started to appreciate the athletes and the talent that they have, and I explained the games to her, she found a joy in that. So at one point in time, this was something that she looked at and she thought that it was negative, right? And now she thinks it's positive. But what usually comes on after sports events like basketball games or football games? The news comes on, right? So I'll tell you something. The news will come on and we turn the channel immediately. Because what I call the news is I call it bad news. And I call it bad news because you have an hour segment and maybe 5 minutes of something good that's happened. And, maybe 10 minutes, 7 minutes, I don't know. But it's an hour segment and, you know, 20, 15 minutes of that is going to be commercials, no doubt. But then everything you hear on the news is murder, anarchy, mayhem, terror, destruction, disease, famine. And then they'll have this one little segment about, you know, guy rescues cat from under the car and takes it in his home. And okay, so that's something to be. And then further news, murder on 21st Street. And it's like everything in the news is built on negativity. So we don't even watch it. We don't even watch it. Now, is that being in denial? Or is that decide not to focus on the propaganda of the media? You understand what I'm saying? So you don't have to be in denial to not focus on the things that are negative around you. You don't ignore them. You don't act like it's not there, but you don't have to give focus to that. When you really believe that you can create in your own experience, then you don't invite those things into your experience. See, because we guide our experiences, we guide our reality with the way we think. It's hard to believe that at first, but once you get into the practice of this, then you really grasp it, and you're like, wow, that's true. You know, focus, man. You have to focus on the things. Like I said, people in people in lower income housing, or I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and I buy houses. What's up, brother? This is why you shouldn't watch TV very much. Yeah, and if you do, watch certain programs. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these television shows, and my daughter watches, my 9-year-old. She watches this show. I think it's called Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. But it's just these cartoon characters, these kids, and they run around having fun and doing things, but it's words. And she'll be sitting in the living room. She reads very well. My daughter was reading by the time she was 2 years old. She read 125 words. So she's only in the fourth grade, but she reads extremely well. And so she loves the show, and she'll sit there and watch it. And these kids run around, and what the hell? These people next door are always making noise, bro. I swear. Ever since they moved in. So she she watches the show, and I'll come through sometimes, and she's just reading the different things that the characters say, and she actually does different voices, and so that's a great program because it's helping her read and comprehend better. It's helping her read quicker, and the learning process. Everything is about reading. Hell, even with math, as you go farther in math, you have to read word problems and such like that. So it's a great show. So I believe it all depends on, and I'm speaking on what I buy Hauser said, guys. This is why you should watch TV. I believe it all depends on the programs that you watch. You know what I mean? I agree. Certain program. I don't watch a lot. Like I will say this, my wife watches a lot of that reality stuff, like you know, Rock of Love, Brett Michaels, and The Love of Ray J, and Housewives of Atlanta, and all of that type of stuff. And she watches it for entertainment value because she thinks a lot of the way these people act is comical to her. But some people watch it and they get so enthralled in it, and all of the fights and the backstabbing and yeah, that's right. That's why you should. So they're watching the same program, but they're taking something different from it. And my wife's taking the comedic value of it, and it's comedic to her because she just feels like some of these people are just so silly in their actions, and so it's comedy. But some people get enthralled in it, and what they take out of is the negative, the fights, and why they got into this argument, why they got into that, and they did wrong for this and they did right for that. It's all about what you take out of these programs, even when it's something that can be perceived as negativity. Doesn't really matter. Said data is one of their powerful ways of turning our communities into depressed hoods, and they will stop your stream if you start reaching too many. Um, I don't worry about that stuff, man. That might be true, bro. That might be true, but at this point, I'm not. I don't worry about that. I don't focus on that. Samuel Shaw in the building. What's up, brother? Salute to you, my man. Um, so you mean you're talking about my live stream, right? Does it really matter? They will stop that. Well, I'm nowhere close to that. It could be some truth to that. I wouldn't deny that, but I listen to a lot of inspirational thinkers and spiritualists, and these guys, they have millions of viewers, bro. They've been going strong for years, and I mean literally millions of viewers. Some networks don't have millions of viewers, but these channels do, and they stream and such. So um, I think I would give focus to what they're doing, and focus on my channel being like theirs and not being stopped. You know what I mean? But I don't deny that. You know, the powers to be own all of telecommunications, so they pretty much can push a button and shut everybody down if they wanted to. They could push a button and shut YouTube down if they wanted to. But again, I don't focus on that. I just focus on the things that I desire. And what I desire to do is, with these power of the minds, help people. You know, I focus on my goals with this. And my goals is to share and to enlighten people on how to free themselves of stress, free themselves of worries, free themselves of, you know, just disappointments or whatever. And, again, just different techniques. We got to focus on the things that we desire. Don't give too much focus on the things that you don't desire, because, as I said in other lives, the thoughts and the energy you put out is going to be returned. So if you focus on the things you don't desire, you don't want, or what's perceived as negative, then you're going to get a residual of that. You'll keep getting more things to focus on that, in any perception, is of negative. Most of those big networks have sold out, pushed their narratives, and pushed their narratives. Yeah, 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 sure. I think, like in Hollywood and the music industry and like mainstream, It's like in this day and time, it's almost a requirement. This is why you don't see, but so many people. It's like almost getting into the NFL because some people get there and they do all the things they need to do, and then they get to that point, and then they find out that they're required to do certain things, and then you don't hear from them no more. Well, the fan base call them what, one hit wonders or someone with short lived success. Actually, they got to the point and they were offered to do certain things and they turned it down. And then once they turned it down, they were basically blackballed. But these people, do they not have the talent that they had at one point? If they were a one hit wonder, they could have been a two or three hit wonder. But they just didn't want to go along with the propaganda. They just didn't want to go along with the things that they didn't know took place. They didn't know in the beginning that they would have to attend homosexual parties, or they didn't know in the beginning that they would have to commit heinous acts. They didn't know that. And once they got there, and they was like, well, wait a minute, I want to be famous, but I'm not going to do this to be famous. And then you don't hear about them anymore. But, 9 times out of 10, the ones that you do hear about, they decided to go along with the program. So, I don't deny that. Uh, the entertainment industry is full of these types of things. It doesn't really matter. And I don't really want to dig into that too much. I don't want to focus on that. Okay. But yeah, that's a true statement, my man. That's a true statement. Let me see here. Okay, what are you talking about? Can change the narrative, but it needs to be taken out of them. What do you mean by that? Change what narrative and what needs to be taken out of them? Break that down for me a little more. Because narratives are of your own. You narrate your own life. And I don't know how you're gonna break that down, but I will say that before you even break it down, a narrative is of your own. It's just like all of these YouTube channels out here in, let's say, the boxing community. They all have different narratives. It's of their own. They all take the same situation and they create these scenarios and narratives around them, which is proof that narratives are of your own. And you can change the narrative and take it out of yourself. And then you teach and you share like we're doing here. So you can change the narrative and, you know, it can be taken out. But listen, it's not like you can extract something. People have to be willing. That's to come from here. They have to be willing. Read it again slowly. What are you talking about? Can change the narrative, but it needs to be taken out of them. Paradigm shift. Reprogram the subconscious mind. Do you understand? Do you understand how to shift your paradigm and reprogram your subconscious mind? Do you understand how to do that? Does it really matter? You, my friend, uh, should probably work on some things. Now, and let me ask you that. Let me ask you that. Does it really matter? Anybody else that's listening, do you know how to complete a paradigm shift and to reprogram your subconscious? Do you understand how to do that? Take it out to them. Okay, I got you. I see. Not of them, but take it out to them. Taken out to them. Well, we are. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Man, I get a lot of views on these things. You know, I think you tie too much into physically and actively going, but the message. Okay, so think about this. Put up here what you said. Most of these big networks sold out and push their narratives, right? So they're pushing their narratives when people do what? Cut on that television for the network, right? And that's how they putting it out to them. So we're doing the same thing here. And I did misread that. So we're doing the same thing right here, my friend. We're putting it out. Social media, this is a social media world, man. Our kids don't get on the phone. Uh, I don't know how old you are. It doesn't really matter. But when I was in school, I used to get on the phone and talk to people. They don't do that anymore. A lot of kids don't do it like we used to do it. And they either texting or they Facebooking or they Instagramming or you know what I mean? It's all about social media. This is a huge form of communication in this day and time. So you taking this message to the people through social media. You can't attach everything to the physical, to this finite flesh. I think that you attach too much to that. To to be active doesn't mean you have to put yourself right in front of people. To be proactive doesn't mean that you have to physically go do something. You have to you have to separate that. It's not a direct correlation, you know? And again, social media is powerful, man. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, it's powerful. People actually used to have to meet up, uh, to become friends. Man, a lot of people become really close friends through social media. Never met. Wow, that's my man, 20 grand. They never met each other a day. But through social media, they speak to each other, they connect with each other, and they're really tight. And one day they might meet and give each other a hug and be like, man, finally get to meet you. But they're kind of friends already before they even meet. Focus, man. It's all about what you focus on. Like Tupac said, I might not change the world, but I bet I spark the mind to the person that will. There you go. And that goes along with what I was saying earlier. You never know. You just have to speak the truth, man. You just have to put this message out there because you never know how profound that message is and who you can hit. You can hit the right person that is a leader of a community or they have a lot of followers and it hits them deep. And then by just sitting here talking on YouTube, you could actually reach 300 people because you'll reach the leader of that community and he'll take everything that you say in and then he'll get a revelation. And then you know what he do? He refurnishes that information to the 200 or 300 people that is in his group that he directly talks to and see every day. Don't think that that's impossible. Doesn't really matter. Actually, that's how things actually happen. He says, D, I got to read your stuff really careful. To be effective, you have to go back to the basics and get in the mix. But you can go back to this. Well, that's a perspective. That's a perception. Do you think that that is the only way? Because if you think that that's the only way, then that's somewhat of a closed perception. You know what I'm saying, brother? That's the way that you perceive it. Now, I'm not saying that it is not true, but that is your perception of it. You know, you don't. Again, everything doesn't have to be of like physically going and physically doing this stuff, man. That's not how everything works, bro. You can get things done. Um, Man, I forgot to do that. You can get things done through social media. You really can. You can get a lot more than you think done. You can't say that the propaganda of the media and the videos and the movies and the news can affect so many people, but then don't understand that you can also affect many people through social media, through Instagram, through Facebook, through YouTube, Twitch, Patreon. I like this guy. I watch basketball, RB the Breakthrough. Has almost 300,000 subscribers. And he has, at the end of his videos, a positive message. And I was sitting on lives more than once on lives where people have started businesses and they're successful now. And they tell them they attribute it to him because of the message that he gave at the end of his business. I mean, at the end of his videos. These people never met him. He never came in contact with these people. He said they were just listening and they heard what he said and it hit them to their heart and it changed their lives, bro. And that's all through social media. You don't have to actually always go and get your hands dirty, so to speak, like they say. You know, you can accomplish things in many different ways. You have to be open minded. You can't be stuck in tunnel vision because look, this is tunnel vision. Doesn't really matter. That's tunnel vision right there. But look at everything outside of my hands, bro. You see that? That's tunnel vision. When you say you can only or you have to do this, that's tunnel vision. But look at all of this space outside of my hands, bro. Which means it's that much more. It's that much more. So open your perspective. You understand? Open the perspective. Don't continue to think that things are only one way. You have to open your perspective, brother. Rose says, peace, I buy houses. Shouting out, I buy houses. Do you need to do both? Right? Right. I agree with that. Because with the nonprofit that my wife and I are involved in, you do. You have to get out there as well. But I'm just saying it's not only. You see what I mean? You don't, it's not that you have to go do this because you can do both. You can accomplish it in both ways too. It's not only one way or the other. Oh, I'm in the field, bro. I am. I am. And that's why I don't disagree with you when you say a lot of these things because I understand that it's necessary. And for all you doesn't really matter says you need to do both. You're already good at the stream. You are needed in the field also. I will help you. Yeah, and I appreciate the help. We will help each other, but I do want you to know that because you're also needed in the field too. You are too. Doesn't really matter. And I would say I would love to do things with you. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there's a lot more people that need you to show them the way, bro. Because it appears that you're extremely active, right? And so my wife and I we're active as well. And to help the communities, the multiple communities, we need more people like us. We need more people like you. We need to spread we need to spread ourselves thin, so to speak, and teach the ones that don't know. Because you say a lot of powerful stuff here, bro. And that's why, when you first came in, I tell everybody don't bother him. Let him express himself. Because this is how we build. This is how we learn. You know, but you are needed. And any help you decide to give me, I would appreciate it. Trust any ideas you have for me. I appreciate them. I might not agree with them all, but I do appreciate the input, the feedback. because this is how we grow. We grow by sharing. Doesn't really matter. You really need to watch Eric Thomas. He has a channel on YouTube. Yeah, who is Eric Thomas? I buy houses. I probably need to watch him too, if I haven't already. I buy houses. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna check him out too. What is he? Inspirational speaker. What does he do? I buy houses. Eric Thomas. This Eric Thomas. Because I'm always in search of new information. You know, man. Like you can never get enough, in my opinion. My brother, my brother always called at the most inopportune time. He's probably watching this and heard me say that. But yeah. Who is this Eric Thomas? I'm interested in that. So, uh, does it really matter? You are correct, bro. You are correct. We have to get out there. I don't disagree with that. Now, you do have to get out there. You can't do everything sitting at home in front of a screen. You can't heal the world. You can't help the world. You can't build sitting at home in front of a screen. So, I don't deny that at all, my friend. Yes, he is an inspirational speaker. Okay, probably the best going right now. Okay, I will definitely check him out. Eric Thomas. I don't know. I listen to a lot of inspirational speakers, bro. I you know, pull in what I need from all of them. One guy, R.I.P. Stuart Wild. I used to listen to Stuart Wild all the time. I still listen to him from time to time, but it was man, I think like a good 5 or 6 month stretch that I would listen to Stuart Wild every single day. You know, yeah. But I'm going to check out this Eric Thomas. Does he talk about focus? Because if he talks about focus, man, focus is everything. Is the title of this because if we focus on the wrong things, we're going to get a residual of that. There's no way around that. So you have to train yourself to focus on, again, your desires, the things that make you happy, the things that you want, the things that you appreciate, the things that you're grateful for, the things that bring you joy. See all of those that I just listed off. Does it really matter? Which means there's multiple things to focus on. And remember, there's balance. So as much as I just gave the yin, there's the yang. Like there's balance. Then it has to become even. Okay. So for everything there is that you do like and you do desire, there's going to be an equal and opposite. It's going to be things that you don't like and things that you don't desire. And it's up to us to maintain that focus. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on with my machine here, man. This thing is always acting crazy, guys. And I ain't even gonna focus on that. See how that works? You know what I mean? I'm gonna focus on you guys. Yeah. So something's going on with my computer here, and I'm smiling about it. See how that works? Does it really matter? Can't focus on. So if I just focus on my computer messing up, my doggone screen might shut out on you guys, right? Not gonna give too much attention to that. I have this video I need to put out, sports video. I gotta study these fights tonight too. What time is it, guys? I can't. You know what? I better not stay on too long because I gotta do some film study. I'm in a prediction league, and the fights start tomorrow, so I gotta get the rest of these fights done tonight. T-Tone Toledo, what's up, brother? No, it's not. It was not with IBFP, and they called that off long ago, bro. This was with unbiased or biased boxing talk, and he knows his sport. But I'm not really sure if it's going to happen. Excuse me. I'm not sure if it's really going to happen, T-Tone. I might have to put a video up about my boy Ducktails, like he did on Ducktails. Woo! No, but I talked to him about it. I don't think he's gonna partake in it. But I told him, well, if he turns it down, I would be remiss to not put a video up saying that he ducked. It's integrity. I got to do it for all, same for all. But yeah, I don't know if he's gonna take the challenge. But he was called out by unbiased or biased boxing talk. He will actually debate Nuke IBFP, but they couldn't come up. See, he's in Alaska and Nuke's over in California, and then Nuke's got his stuff going and IBFP has his stuff going, so they couldn't come up with an even time. So that debate's been off. But anyway, T-Tone, this is about power of the mind, my friend. Focus. So don't focus on debates. Focus till tomorrow. I will answer that. Hold on for a second, guys. Chopper flying by. All right, sorry about that. Tomorrow. So if not tomorrow, I'll be working on the video tomorrow and I'll put it out. So you'll hear about it. It'll be come out right on D Jefferson's debate cage. Ducktales. Yeah, but so anyway, you know, tonight we talking about focus, man. It's all about focus. We need to do our best to focus on the things we desire and the positives in life. Okay? Give your attention and focus to those things. That will help you move forward. That will help you move ahead. That will help you stay stress free. You know, it will help relieve a lot of the stress. Samuel says, D, uh, what do I do? Send in your pics on Friday fights and send. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I appreciate that, Samuel. Because it's only like four or five of them for tomorrow, right? Then the rest of them on Saturday. It's a damn good idea, my friend. Thank you. See, this is why we all share. This is why we all share. So, guys, I just wanna leave you guys with this. I appreciate everybody coming through, but I just wanna leave you with this. Um, Let me see what Doesn't Really Matter says. I'm flying into Ohio next week, D. What areas should we focus on? Oh, shh. Man, I'll tell you one thing. I'm in Columbus, and there's a hell of a lot of things going on here. There's a hell of a lot of. I'll do some. Again, bro. I don't. I just moved here to Ohio 5 years ago. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, but I do know that there are some areas, that we can hit here. What are you flying in here for? Business, or is it just specifically to get out there and talk to people? What is the purpose of what is the nature of your trip? But there are a lot of places right here that we can hit. The west side of Columbus, they have this area called the Bottoms, and if you think about it, like it's called the Bottoms, it's like the bottom of the barrel. There's a lot of areas there we can go to, and just speak to people. There's projects and hoods and poverty and everywhere, bro. You know what I mean? So I mean, sky's the limits. Does it really matter? He knows this sport should never do another video about fighters ducking if he's ducking. Yeah, right. It's kind of ironic. So, did you ever follow me on Twitter? Does it really matter? Did we follow each other on Twitter? I want you to hit me next week. You coming here next week? I want you to hit me in the DM so we can plan some things. I don't remember if I gave you my Twitter feed or not, but if not, I'm gonna do it right now. Man, that's great, dog. I'll get to meet you next week. That's my Twitter right there. Does it really matter? Just in case. Business, but that's not my true purpose. I have designs and infrastructures. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that more behind the scenes. But that's my Twitter feed. I just put it in there. Hit me up on Twitter so we can exchange information. That's excellent, brother. I can't wait till I'm healing right now as we speak. So I can't wait till I get my energy back up. And man, I'm so small from that sepsis infection. You can probably see in my face, see how thin my face is, but yeah. Follow me on there, and we'll communicate in the DM. I'll give you the phone number, my personal phone number, and we can chop it up on that. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying, guys, what I want to leave you guys with tonight is focus. Do your best to pull out all of the positive things in any situation, because every situation in life, there is something positive in it. Every situation. You just have to pull out what the positive is and focus on that. Don't focus on the negatives in the situations. Because remember, when you think about what you think about, what you feel, and what you focus on, you get a residual of that. And that's not mine. That's from the divine. Okay? That's the Almighty. What you think about, give emotions to, and focus on, you get a residual of that. All of that will come back. So focus is everything. Focus on the things you desire. Focus on the things that make you happy. Focus on the positives. That's what it's all about. And as you guys know, this is not sports, but for the love of sports, let's talk about it. Peace out, guys. I appreciate you joining me.